Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. What we learn from Hussein Salamullah alayhi is that Allah needs to be acknowledged in the fullest way that we can. Allah needs to be thanked. We need to have confidence in Allah. There has to be a very personal, intimate bonding with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There needs to be trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to understand that whatever Allah does, He does for good. That we cannot doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine a person whose son's chest is torn apart and he trusts in Allah. A person whose life is taken at every breath in the form of his children and his brothers, but yet he is so dignified, he is so calm, he is so composed. Imagine a man who increases in his light as the tribulations surmount upon him. As a lesson for life, Hussein is enough for us. I often say to myself that as a Shia of Hussein, at the most I only know a few hours of Hussein's life in detail. But those few hours are sufficient in order to learn the lessons of a successful life. It is amazing how human beings are ruined through fears and anxieties, through suffering. And it is amazing the lesson that he imparts in these few hours of how to control our anxieties, our fears, and how to reconcile them in trust of God. Think about this way. In this life, everything is transient. Everything is moving. Nothing is stagnant. Nothing is stable. Nothing was ours to keep. It was all there for Allah. We came here for a moment. It's but a moment. This moment will go. There is nothing in these hands that belongs to me. Even these hands do not belong to me. Even they, while I am alive, are returning to the dust. Can you not see how I have lost my agility? There was nothing here that was mine. There was only Allah. I only had to find one lost treasure, and that was my God. How beautifully Hussein says, "Oh Allah, now I have begun to understand that in every affair, your only objective was to acquaint yourself to me, whether through good times or through hardship, whether through my children or through my parents. Oh Lord, when my mother looked on with benevolent glances, it was you looking through her. When my brother afforded me support, it was your support through him. When my father sacrificed for me, it was you sacrificing through him. Oh Lord, everything you did was for me to return to you. Nothing belonged to me. I only had a singular task of finding you." Once we arrive at this understanding and this beautiful clarity within us, life becomes productive. Think about it carefully. It is just a day or two, and then we are going away to our God. Why should I be so invested in this life that this life makes me and this life breaks me? Why should I love to the extent that I lose my sleep? Why should I hate to the extent that I ruin my hereafter? What need is there for all of this? Especially for one who claims that there is a God that they're returning to. When we look at Hussein, Salamullah alayhi, life is transformed. Difficulties are a part of life. We did not come into this world for an easy ride. Allah reminds us in the Quran that when I offered my trust to the heavens and the earth and the great mountains, they trembled in awe. They ran away. Man took the trust. Indeed, he is oppressive and ignorant. Life was never meant to be an easy task. Life was meant to be very, very difficult. Life is an opportunity to find God. Do you think God is that easy to find? Really? He is found in thirst and hunger. He is found in oppression with enemies. He is found beneath a blade. God is not a simple task. He is the treasure of all treasures. Do you think we will laughingly come into this world and walk away? Allah says, is this what you think? That we will not test you? Do you think that I will not put your faith to test before I take you back? We have indeed made a grand pact with Allah. And this life is going to be very, very difficult. And the more difficult this life is, the greater the opportunity to find our God. You see, we can do what Hussein did. In the midst of difficulties, leave it to God. Leave it to Allah. By Allah, it's not easy. When you see Hussein, when he's carrying his asghar, it is not easy. When you see a helpless baby, its neck is torn. It is not easy to arrive at the body of Qasim, and it is torn into pieces. It is not easy seeing little children crying. When Sakina, the older one, cries to Hussein, he says, "Oh child, there will be no end to your grief after I have gone." When he sees Zainab, he says, "Sister, bear it for the sake of Allah. Trust in what Allah is doing." His Abbas is cut into pieces. He walks away in a dignified manner. His Akbar has fallen. He says, "Oh Allah, what makes this bearable is that you participate with me. You see what is happening." Somebody once said to me, he said, one test Ibrahim faced that Hussein did not face. Ibrahim left Hajara and Ismail in the desert and turned away. I said, indeed he did. The anguish in the soul of Ibrahim was unbearable. But this is Hussein. Look at him. Ibrahim makes a prayer, "Oh Allah, I will go, feed them, quench their thirst. Allow the people to tend towards them mercifully." And this is Hussein. Hamid ibn Muslim says, he exited from his tent. The wind blew violently. The hem of his garment was seen blowing from side to side. He slowly arrived towards his steed. The cloth of the tent lifted behind him. There emerged a child of 3 or 4, walking behind him and falling. She comes to him, grabs the hem of his garment and tugs on it. He turns behind, and a soft broken voice rises, "Ya abata undur ilayya." "Oh father, look at me. Inni atshan. I die of thirst." Hussein cries out and he says, "Saqakillah ya bunayya." "Oh child, may Allah quench your thirst after I have gone." Look at the pain and the sorrow in the heart of this Hussein. Yet he ascends a hill and he says, "Oh Lord, I have chosen to make her orphan, that I may meet with you. He looks on, he sees the swords. O Lord, even if they cut me into pieces, I shall yearn none but you. Hussein teaches how to trust Allah, how to be dignified. O Lord, if you are pleased with it, then allow me to accept it and not to complain. If you have sent enemies, then you have only sent them for me to come back to you. The story of Hussein comes to a point where when we go to Karbala at this point, we see Hussein sitting outside the tents with his head lowered. When we go close to him, we find a little baby in his lap. Hussein is lamenting. He stands. He comes to Zainab. He says, "Oh Zainab, bring me some old garments." Or he says, "Oh Zainab, bring me the garment our mother had prepared for me." She says, "Oh Hussein, has that time come?" He takes the garment and cuts it into pieces. She says, "Oh brother, what is this that you do?" "Oh Zainab, they will strip me of my clothes. I do not wish them to leave me naked upon the earth. Come, let us take news of our son." Zainab accompanies him into the tent of Zainul Abidin. Zainul Abidin is unconscious. Hussein stands over him, and as the tears fall from the eyes of Hussein upon the face of Zainul Abidin, he opens his eyes, but does not recognize him. He focuses and says, "Oh aunt, sit behind me that I may recline against you. This is my father." He looks at Hussein and he says, "Oh father, what news do you bring?" "Oh child, the devil has overpowered their hearts. A mighty battle broke out between us and them. I come to bid you farewell." At that point, Zainul Abidin looks at Hussein and asks a single question. "Aina Ammi al-Abbas?" Where is my uncle Abbas? Zainab looks deep into the eyes of Hussein, not knowing how he will respond. Hussein said, "Qad qutil." He has been killed. Zainul Abidin cries to no extent. Then he says, "Ayna Aliyun al-Akbar? Qad qutil. Muslim ibn Awsaja? Qad qutil. Zuhair Qayn? Qad qutil." All of them have gone, O child. None has remained. He says, "Oh aunt, bring me my stick and my sword." Hussein says, "What do you intend to do, O child?" He says, "I wish to defend my father. Oh father, it is unbearable for me to see you in this state. Allow me to give my life." He embraces Zainul Abidin and calls out, "Oh women, know well that he is my successor." Then he says to Zainul Abidin, "Oh child, if you were to die, who shall take these widows and these orphans back to Medina? You must live." Comes out of his tent. He comes to the tent of the women and he calls out, "Ya Zainabu, Ya Kulthum, Ya Fidda, Ya Sakina, alaykunna minni salam." O women, O daughters of Muhammad, take my final farewell. Fahada wida hadas. This is the final farewell, and after which there is no return. They surround him. They fall at his feet. Umar ibn Saad says, "Attack him in this state. If he escapes now, he will not surrender." They shot arrows The women are filled with anguish and fear. He takes them inside the tent. He says to Allah, Allah, I leave them in your care. As he's about to leave, there is a soft voice that calls out, Mahlan, Mahlan ya Aba Abdullah. Oh Aba Abdullah, pause for a moment. As he turns, Zainab is running to him. Oh Hussein, let me observe your face one last time. For when again shall I see you? She falls at his feet. And she says, Oh Hussein, in whose care do you leave your sister? I have no grandfather, father, or mother. He lifts her, embraces her, and says, Oh Zainab, bear it for the sake of Allah. Do not tear the arteries of my heart with your tears, for indeed your grief shall know no end after I have been killed. We hear from the Dhakirin that Zainab says to Hussein, Oh Hussein, I have remembered the last will of our mother. He said, what? She says, lower your head. She kisses his neck. And he said, what is this that you do, O Zainab? She said, when he comes for his final farewell, kiss his thirsty neck from me, for it will be brutally beheaded after that. Hussein bids her farewell. He ascends his steed. فَوَلَّى يَمِينًا وَشِمَالًا. He turns right and he turns left. فَنَادَى. Then he calls out, يَا فُرْسَانَ الْهَيْجَى. O my brave warriors, مَا لِي يَدْعُوكُمْ فَلَا تُجِيبُونَ. What has become? I call out to you, you do not respond. وَأَغِيثُ بِكُمْ فَلَا تُغِيثُونَ. I seek help from you, but you do not come. By God, death has rid you of your speech. Even now, if Allah were to reinstill lives into your bodies, you will come running to me. He calls out, هَلْ مِن نَاصِرٍ يَنْصُرُنَا. There is no response. He finds emptiness and an army awaiting ahead of him. He spurs his steed, but Zuljana refuses to move. He looks at Zuljana. Even though I know you are tired, O steed, as is your master, I ask you to take me to my destination one last time. The horse lowers its head, and as the tears descend from its eyes, a soft voice rises. Oh Father, I too have a last request. Hussein looks at his young child and he says, oh child, what request do you have? She says, oh Father, descend from your steed and sit next to me. He sits next to her. Take me into your lap, oh Father. He does so. Oh Father, caress my head as you would caress a head of an orphan. Sakina, I must go. She says, oh Father, if you must go, then take me back to Medina first. Hussein looks at her and he says, oh child, when shall you see Medina again? Oh child, allow me to go and bring back some water for you. She remembers well the promise Abbas had made. She says, oh Father, I am no longer thirsty. I fear you too will go but not come back. Hussein sends Sakina back into the tents and goes on, engages in battle with them, and comes back to the tent. and cries out, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The reason for this was that he knew that his Zainab could not withstand not knowing what was happening to her Hussein. Whenever he would come back and call out, La hawla wa la quwwata, Zainab would find comfort in her soul that her brother is still alive. On an occasion, Hussein comes to the Alqama. I will say, oh Hussein, is it the thirst of your sakina that forces you into the Alqama? He cups water. They deceive him by saying, oh Hussein, we are looting your tents while you drink water. He throws the water away. He says, oh Shimr, I am still alive. Kill me first before you destroy my tents. Shimr said, he is right. Put him to death first, and then loot his tents. Hussein finds courage again and fights them. Why is he fighting them? Oh Hussein, you shall not be able to save your Zainab. Surrender to death, O Hussein. He fights them. At a point they're given an order that as he appears now, shoot him down with your arrows. As Hussein appears into the battlefield, numerous arrows are released. His blessed body hosts all these arrows. He is unable to contain himself upon his steed. He arrives upon the dust of Karbala. He removes these arrows and begins to fight. We find the hadith that says that Hussein used to look towards the heavens and cry out, "Oh Allah, I have fulfilled my promise. Fulfill your promise." There is no response. Hussein goes on fighting. There comes a point where Hussein stands. This is what I have read in numerous narrations. He is surrounded by them. They are throwing stones at him. They are coming to him, striking at him and walking away. He falls and he stands. At this point, a three-headed arrow is released. As it penetrates into his stomach, he grabs hold of it. And he says, "Oh Allah, they are killing the only son of your messenger upon the face of this earth." He descends to the ground. He is unable to move. There is a cry, "Await not, behead the man." They begin to surround him. Every one of them comes forward, then fearfully turns away. "Sorrow be the lot of your mothers. Kill him," cries out Shimr. None dares to kill him. Hussein is observed, turning upon the dust. And his lips are moving in the tasbih of Allah. Every one of them is coming close to him. They're looking at him and they're turning away. Shimr comes by, "Allah, I will put you to death." Grabs the hair of Hussein and throws him upon his back. Then places his knee upon the blessed chest of Hussein. Hussein looks at Shimr, said, "Indeed, you are the one who will put me to death." He says, "Oh Shimr, do you know which place you ascend? It is the chest of the best of man through mothers and fathers." He said, "Oh Shimr, if killing me is inevitable, then place a drop of water in my mouth as you behead me." By Allah, says Shimr, you will not taste water until you taste my blade sip by sip. As he extracts his dagger, and as he places it upon his neck, Zainab appears on top of a hill. She looks down, and she sees that Shimr is about to behead her brother. In anguish, she puts her hands upon her head, and she cries out, Ya layta as-samaa atbaqna ala al-ard. If only the heavens would collapse upon the earth. If only the mountains would crumble. Ama fiikum min muslimin. Is there not a Muslim amongst you who will say, Aba Abdullah? She looks at Umar ibn Sa'd. He looks at her and turns his face away from her. As she cries out, she finds no response. She turns back and begins to run, to awaken Zainul Abidin, to take heed of what is going on. Perplexed and bewildered, as she runs back towards the tent, Karbala begins to tremble. There is a storm. The sun is darkened. Zainul Abidin comes out of the tent, and he sees the head of Hussein being raised on the end of a spear. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. The enemies cry out, لَقَدْ قُتِلَ الْحُسَيْنِ. Fatima Hussein.